Alright, students, let's go ahead and start with the next chapter. The next chapter which we are going to revise is the chapter of tax invoice, credit note, and debit note. Everyone over here, we started learning GST with goods or service. Whenever goods and service will be supplied, supply GST will be levied. Once GST is levied, you will have to see exemption. If you are not falling in an exemption, then you will have to collect and pay. If you are a taxable person, how will you collect, everyone? You will calculate GST is equal to value of supply into rate of tax. Once you know the value, you will prepare tax invoice, credit note, debit note. Right, everyone? So here comes the chapter of tax invoice, credit note, debit note. Section number 31, 32, 33, and section number 34. Let's go ahead and quickly understand tax invoice, credit note, and debit note. Section number 31 goes ahead and talks about tax invoice. Section number 31 has section number 31 1 till section number 31 7. Section number 31 1 goes ahead and says if you are a person who is going ahead and supplying goods, then if your goods involve movement means it is going from you to the recipient, movement is there, then always you have to generate the invoice before or at the time of removal. When you are going to remove from your factory, before or at that time your invoice should be raised. If there is no movement, any other case, always invoice should be raised at the time of delivery or making available. Delivery means when risk and rewards are being transferred, that time you should go ahead and raise the invoice. When you are going ahead and raising the invoice should have what? Description, quantity, value, tax, such other particulars as told in rule number 46. The invoice should always be triplicate, one for the king, recipient, duplicate for the transporter, triplicate for yourself, supplier. Are we clear, everyone? The next one over here is section number 31. 2. In case of services, when you should go ahead and raise the invoice. In case of services, you should raise the invoice once you have provided the service on or before the providing of service. But maximum time limit is what? Sir, before or after the providing of service, but within 30 days or 45 days. Sir, 45 days is given in case of banking company, insurance, financial institution, and NBFC. So I call them NBFI. N for NBFC, B for banking company, F for financial institution, I for insurance company. What is the limit, everyone? 45 days. Now, then they went ahead and told when you are raising the invoice, always remember in case of services, you show description, value, tax, such other particulars as told in rule number 46. Invoice should be always duplicate, one for the king, recipient, another for supplier. Now, if you are a person who is a NBFIT, NBFC, banking company, financial institution, insurance company, and telecom company, NBFIT. Then if you are supplying to your distinct person some services, then you should always go ahead and issue the invoice when? When you record, basically before the time the supplier records in the books of account, when you make a book entry of the service that you have supplied the service, or before the expiry of the quarter in which services are supplied. Are we clear, everyone? In which the services are made. So what is the maximum time to go ahead and raise the invoice? When the quarter is going to get over the last day or when you make the book entry. Everyone over here. Then the section number 31.3 comes. 31.3 has 31.3 A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Sir, section number 31.3, when we talk about section number 31.3, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A means what? I told you have to remember R, N, B, A, R, S, P. R for revised tax invoice. Baba, you should issue revised tax invoice within how much time? 1 month of the registration certificate. For which invoices? Sir, I became liable. Here the registration was granted. Here I went ahead and applied within 30 days. Registration was granted. Registration valid from the date I became liable. From the date you become liable till the grant of registration certificate, whatever supplies you did, for that you will issue revised tax invoice within 1 month. Are we clear, everyone? Collect GST and pay it to the government. Now, when I am talking about revised tax invoice, for all the supplies which you have done, During the period, you become liable till the date of issuance of registration certificate for all the supplies. If you had done the supplies to a registered person, consolidated revised tax invoice is not possible, whether intra or inter. But if you had done the supplies to an unregistered person, remember, within the state, consolidated revised tax invoice can be issued for all the buyers. But outside the state, you have to see if the value of supply was greater than 2.5 lakh, then for that individual revised tax invoice to be given. For all other supplies, you can make one consolidated revised tax invoice. Are we clear, everyone? Next, N for no tax invoice. No tax invoice when the value is less than 200. Everyone over here. I told you revised tax invoice. Secondly, registered person not to issue invoice when the value is less than 200. But this is not applicable in case of multiplex theater, because I told you multiplex compulsorily they are required to issue e-ticket. Even if the value is less than 200, they are required to do e-ticketing, and e-ticket is only deemed as the tax invoice in that scenario, whether it contains the recipient detail or it does not contain the recipient detail. Also, they have to issue an e-ticket even if the value is less than 200. Remember one thing, it's only for multiplex who has multiple screen. Single screen wala theater, value less than 200, baba, e-invoicing is, e-ticketing is not mandatory. Can I go ahead, everyone? Next, if value is less than 200, recipient is unregistered and he does not require invoice, then you don't have to give an invoice if the value of supply is less than 200. And whatever supplies you have done to those people to whom you did not give the invoice, for all the supplies, at the end of the day, what will you raise? Consolidated tax invoice at the end of the day for all the supplies. Then we have registered person is supplying taxable goods, then tax invoice. If registered person is supplying exempted goods, what did I teach you? The next one, R and B. B for bill of supply. If you are supplying those supplies which are what? Exempt supply, or you are a composition dealer, then you don't have to issue a tax invoice. You will issue what? Bill of supply. Also, value is less than 200. Bill of supply also not required. The next one is 31.3D. What is 31.3D, everyone? If I receive an advance, I have to go ahead and issue a receipt voucher. Are we clear, everyone? I have to always go ahead and issue a receipt voucher evidencing that you have gone ahead and received the payment. Sir, when I received the advance, I don't know intra or inter. I don't know the rate. Government told, please pay, assume interstate, pay IGST and pay how much? 18%. Then, sir, I received an advance. See, the next one over here was what? B A for advance का case में you always issued what? Receipt voucher. R for refund voucher. What is refund voucher? Going ahead and telling everyone, sir, you received an amount as advance, you paid the GST to the government. If you did not supply and did not issue a tax invoice, then you can issue a, if you are going ahead and giving him the money back, you should issue always a refund voucher. Whatever tax you had paid to the government, government will also refund it to you. Registered person, no supply and tax invoice against the advance, then you can issue refund voucher. Then 31.3F goes ahead and talks about, sir, it talks about a self invoicing. What is self invoicing, everyone? Sir, one person is a registered person, he supplied me and I am liable to pay tax under reverse charge, then he will give me a tax invoice. But if the person who is supplying me an unregistered person and I am required to pay tax under reverse charge, I should myself issue an invoice as per section number 31.3F. Are we clear, everyone? And practical life may we call it a self invoice. So whenever you are liable to pay tax under 9.3 or 9.4, you are required to issue an invoice with respect to the goods, services, or both received from unregistered person on the date of receipt. When I am making payment to those people who have supplied me the goods on which goods or service on which I am paying the tax under reverse charge, I should always issue a payment voucher, whether he is a registered person or unregistered person. Whenever you have paid the tax under reverse charge on a supply, if you are making the payment to those guys, you should always issue a payment voucher. What did I tell you over here? I told R for revised tax invoice, N for no tax invoice, B for bill of supply, A for advance pay receipt voucher, R for refund voucher, S for self invoice, P for payment voucher. Right, everyone? Then section number 31.3, one done supply in case of goods, removal, delivery, making available, services 30 days or 45 days. Then 31.3, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then Then 31.4 goes ahead and talks about continuous supply of goods. Whenever you are supplying some service, some goods continuously on a recurrent basis, that is known as continuous supply of goods. Sir, if successive statement I am giving, when I am giving the statement, I should give the invoice. If payment is involved, when I am going ahead and receiving the payment, basically invoice should be on or before such statement or payment. Continuous supply of service, whenever I'm going ahead and supplying service, 31.5 goes ahead and says, whenever you are going ahead and providing any service, continuously, when is it called continuous supply? Whenever it is for greater than 3 months, then they are telling you have to see the contract. If the contract between you and the recipient is that due date is ascertainable, invoice should be on or before due date. Due date is not ascertainable, on or before you receive the payment. Payment is linked to completion. On or before completion of the event, you should raise the invoice. Sir, 31.6 goes ahead and says supply of service ceases before completion. I have not completed the service, but supply of service is ceasing. Then they are telling invoice at the time of cessation, how much ever service you have provided, how much ever supply you have done. For that, you should give the invoice at the time of cessation. Matlab, they are telling at the time of cessation to the extent of supply you have done before the cessation. How much ever service you have provided, you should give the invoice. Sir, goods sent on approval or return basis. Section number 31.7 says whenever you are sending the goods on approval, always remember one thing, you should raise the invoice. At the time of sending, no. At the time of sending, you should issue just a delivery challan and send. Sir, invoice when? When the approval is given, that is at that before or at the time of supply, or 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. Right, everyone? Section number 31 done. Section number 31.1. In case of goods, when do you raise invoice? Removal, delivery, making available. Service, 30 days or 45 days. 31.3 has what? RN bar SP. 31.4 continuous supply of goods. 31.5 continuous supply of service. 31.6 supply of service ceases before completion. And 31.7 goods sent on approval. Right, everyone? Then we have section number 32, which goes ahead and says prohibition on unauthorized collection of tax. If you are unregistered person, don't collect. Registered person, collect as per the rules or act. So then have section number 33, which goes ahead and says whenever you are going ahead and issuing any tax invoice or any other document, please show the tax amount separately. Then we have section number 34 over here, which goes ahead and says section number 34 1 says when should you issue credit note. Sir, whenever taxable value or tax charge is excess, or you have goods and services are supplied, are returned to you. Oh, sir, services can't be returned. Whenever goods are returned or goods, services, or both are found to be deficient, then Baba, always remember you can go ahead and issue a credit note. Sir, sorry, I will give you a credit note, so you can issue credit note. Then registered person may, it is not mandatory. Why? Because credit note will reduce the liability. Government say you will take back. Who wants to give back? Government told up to you. If you want, you issue. Then, sir, whenever you issue a credit note, the amendment is you have to always go ahead and declare the details of the credit note in the return of the month during which the credit note has been issued. I issued the credit note in this month. This month when I am filing the return, in that I should show the credit note. But what is the maximum time I should declare the credit note? By 30th November of the next financial year, or annual return ka filing date, whichever is earlier. Remember, everyone, this is an amendment, 30th day of November or the date of furnishing annual return, whichever is earlier. Section number 34.3 says whenever you are going ahead and supplying and tax invoice had been issued, but later you found that tax you have charged less or value you have charged less, please go ahead and issue a debit note. Whenever you issue a debit note, there is no time limit to go ahead and issue and declare. Whenever you issue, the month you issue, that month when you are filing the return, please go ahead and show the debit note. The next one over here is HSN code. Sir, what is HSN code, everyone? Harmonized system of nomenclature. Whenever you are issuing an invoice, you should put what? HSN code, which is a 8-digit code. Now they have gone ahead and told with effect from 1st of April 2021, if you are a person whose aggregate turnover is up to 5 crore, then Baba, if you are doing B2B supplies, how many digits of HSN code is compulsory? First 4 digit. And B2C supply, it is always optional. If you want, you can put. If it is If you don't want, don't put. If aggregate turnover is greater than 5 crore, how many digits are mandatory? 6 digits of HSN code are mandatory, whether you are doing B2B, business to business, or business to consumer wala supply. Circular with respect to time expired drugs or medicine. Everyone, what was happening in the medicine industry? People were facing a problem. They were telling, sir, we manufactured a medicine, we sent it to the trader. Now, if trader is returning, how to deal? Government went ahead and told one option is when you are going ahead and supplying, now trader is returning, tell him to go ahead and return it to you. You go ahead and give him one credit note. Yes, everyone. And if the credit note is issued within time, your tax liability can be adjusted. But if tax invoice is not issued within time, sorry, if credit note is not issued within time, my liability will not be adjusted. So people told, sir, this is only the problem. Everyone, supplier can issue a credit note and retailer will return with the help of delivery challan. If credit note is issued within time, liability can be adjusted. If else, liability cannot be adjusted. When I receive the drugs, I will go ahead and destroy the drugs. When I destroy the drugs, ITC will be reversed. Everyone over here. Now I am telling, sir, what if that person is returning after the time limit? After the time limit means, sir, 30th November is also gone. Now if I go ahead and issue him a credit note, I will not get a reduction in my liability. What to do? Government told Ramesh, do one thing. When you had supplied to him, you have already paid the tax. Forget that transaction. He took the ITC. Forget that transaction. Now tell him to go ahead and sell you the expired drugs as fresh supply. He will go ahead and supply you. He will collect the GST from you. He will pay it to the government. He has input tax credit. His output tax liability is set off and he'll pay. What will you do? You receive the supply. You take the ITC. When you destroy the medicine, you will destroy the ITC also. Sir, returned by the registered person, treat as fresh supply. Issue what? Tax invoice. I will go ahead and supply you. I'll return it to you. I'll issue a tax invoice. If I am a composition dealer, I will issue a bill of supply. I am an unregistered person, just a commercial invoice. When the manufacturer receives it, manufacturer destroys the returned drug. He will reverse the ITC as availed on such returned drugs. When I receive the drugs back, I'll destroy the drugs. ITC also will get destroyed. Now, the next point over here is e-invoicing. What is e-invoicing, everyone? You have to raise a normal invoice. You have to go to einvoice1gst.gov.in, fill the particulars over there. Some particulars are required, supplier, recipient details, etc. And then the e-invoicing ka portal will go ahead and generate one invoice reference number. You have to use the invoice reference number, and now you have to go ahead and download the invoice. When you download the invoice, that invoice will have a QR code, and that invoice is this process is known as e-invoicing. Basically, to generate an invoice and register it and get an invoice reference number, this process is known as what? E-invoicing. Once you get the invoice reference number, can you download your invoice? Yes, Baba, you can go ahead and now download your invoice. This whole process is known as e-invoicing. Now, remember one thing, if you have done e-invoicing, you are not required to issue 3 copies in case of goods, 2 copies in case of services. E-invoicing provisions are applicable if you are a registered person and your aggregate turnover in any preceding financial year from 17-18, 18-19, 19-20, 20-21, 21-22, any year may has crossed how much? 10 crore. Amendment is, it is now 10 crore with respect to which supplies? If you are doing B2B supplies, means you are doing supplies to a registered person, and for your export, you are required to do mandatorily e-invoicing. Means you are required to generate an invoice and register on the e-invoice1gst.gov.in. Sir, when is e-invoicing not applicable? If you are a government department, local authority, SEZ unit, or you are BGPM. B for banking company. 54.2 talks about banking company. And here everyone, 54.2, 3, 4 and 4A. 54.2 talks about banking company. Banking company means NBFI. G means G for GTA, whoever is a GTA, and P means passenger transportation service may, and M means multiplex. For these people, e-invoicing is not applicable. Can you tell me again, everyone? E-invoicing, if I am a registered person and my aggregate turnover in any year from 17-18, 18-19, 19-20, 20-21, 21-22, now 22-23 is going on. So last year was what? 21-22. So from 1718, any year may if my turnover had crossed 10 crore, on me e-invoicing provisions are applicable. And what will I do whenever I'm doing B2B supplies or I'm exporting? I should generate a in invoice means I should generate a invoice reference number, means I should register my invoice. With respect to which supplies I don't have to do it, I have to do with respect to B2B and for export. For which supplies I'll not do. If I am going ahead and supplying to government department, local authority, SEZ or BGPM. B means banking. NBFI. NBFC, banking company, financial institution, insurance company. G for GTA. P for passenger transportation service. And M for multiplex. Why these people will not generate? Because these people are those cases in which tax invoice in special circumstance. Banking companies, etc., they can generate what? Consolidated tax invoice or other document. Might be if they generate a statement, that is only their invoice. Sir, GTA can issue tax invoice or might be a consignment note, and that is only their invoice. If you are a supplier of passenger transportation service, ticket which you issue, ticket is only your invoice, and Baba multiplex has to do e-ticketing, and e-ticketing is only their tax invoice. And on these people, neither dynamic QR code is applicable nor e-invoicing provisions are applicable. Sir, what's a dynamic QR code? Dynamic QR code is that code which you go to a shop and you want to make the payment. When you want to make the payment, they give you a code. That code, the QR code, that QR code is known as a dynamic QR code. You scan, automatic amount comes, you pay, and you go home. That is known as a dynamic QR code. Now, government have gone ahead and made mandatory for some suppliers to go ahead and give dynamic QR code with effect from 1st of January, 1st of December 2020. If you are a registered person and your aggregate turnover in any financial year from 1718 is greater than 500 crore, then with respect to supplies to unregistered person, B2C, basically whenever you are supplying to unregistered person, you have to give what? Dynamic QR code ka option. What is the purpose of dynamic QR code? It is for enabling UPI payments. Sir, it is not applicable on whom? If you are BGPMO. What is BGPMO, everyone? B for banking company, NBFI. G for GTA, P for passenger transportation service, M for multiplex, O means OIDR, O means online information database access retrieval service provider. For them also, dynamic QR code is not applicable. Here there is a small circular. Can you guys see? Okay, here there is a small point which is there. If I am a registered person, I am supplying taxable supply and exempt supply to whom? Unregistered person. Instead of giving one bill of supply and one tax invoice, I can give one combined document which is known as what? Invoice come bill of supply. Now there is one circular over here. Jewelers, when they are taking their jewelry from one state to another to shown approval basis, they can move along with delivery challan. If the sale happens, they will issue a invoice at the time of approval. Intrastate CGST, SGST, interstate IGST. Are we clear? Next, the next one over here is if you are taking artwork from one state to another, at the time of sending, send along with delivery challan. Sir, the person says, I like it, the artwork was approved. Then what will you do? You will issue an invoice and you will go ahead and charge the appropriate GST. Intrastate, CGST, SGST, interstate, IGST will come. One small point, when we go ahead and learn the e-way bill chapter, in the e-way bill chapter, you will see that when jewelry is being moved, no, that time e-way bill is not required. This is one specific case that jewelry ka movement pe e-way bill is not required, but other things when you are moving artwork, etc., then e-way bill is required. Are we clear, everyone? Here we are done. Okay. Delivery challan. What is a delivery challan, everyone? Rule number 55 says delivery challan should always be issued in 3 copies. One for consignee, one for transporter, and one for the consigner. Whoever is sending, whoever is transporting, and whoever is receiving. Then it says, when will you issue, everyone? Whenever you are sending liquefied gas, transportation of goods to your job worker, transportation of goods for reason other than supply, might be you are sending some goods for testing, or whenever goods are transported for supply but invoice could not be issued at that time you are transporting the goods, jewelry for supply, but that time when you are transporting, invoice could not be issued. So at that time you can move on the basis of delivery challan. And also when goods transported in complete knockdown, semi knockdown, batches or lot, then Baba, you'll issue one invoice, but goods are going in 4-5 trucks. So what will you do? The trucks, when you are moving, you will need a delivery challan. The first truck can move along with the invoice, but other trucks will need delivery challan and also certified copy of the invoice. Right, everyone? Here we are done with your tax invoice, credit note, debit note ka chapter. The two amendments, everyone. Number one, maximum time limit to declare your credit note is by 30th of November of the next financial year on annual return ka furnishing date, whichever is earlier. And one more, e-invoicing provisions which are there. E-invoicing provisions are applicable whenever your turnover crosses 10 crore in any preceding financial year from 17-18. Right, everyone? I'll go ahead and close my revision on tax invoice, credit note, debit note. Bye, guys.